On this episode of the program, we bring you highlights from the State of the Nation dialogue organized by the Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja. Also showing on the program, the International Law Association's Arbitration Committee organizes a mentorship training program, especially for young practitioners in the arbitration field, plus a recap of the top trending legal stories in the news. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Shieli. The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Yakubu Mekiao, has apologized to Nigerians for the failure of legal practitioners to live up to their responsibilities of offering guidance for the advancement of the country. He says the experiences faced in the country presently rest on the neglect of legal practitioners in providing direction and leadership for the people. We have all the details up next. It's a gathering of members of the bar, the bench, members of the legislature and the executive, some presidential candidates and other key stakeholders. They are here for the maiden edition of the NBA's National Dialogue on the State of the Nation. The focal point of discussion here is on security, the economy and administration of justice, the challenges and solutions. The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Yakubu Mekiao, leads the conversation by coming hard on members of the legal profession.
I dare say, with utmost respect, that to a large extent, our experience today as a country is a direct consequence of the legal profession's abdication of the duty to provide direction and leadership to the people. I must therefore, as one who is privileged to lead the bar at this time, apologize to Nigerians for the abdication of our role. Today, as members of the bar, we are reputed more for how much fees we charge our clients, as opposed to the discharge of our primary call to offer guidance and or offer ourselves for the advancement of the cause of our country. This apology is necessary because no other group of professionals is called to this privileged position as the lawyers, which also comes with corresponding responsibility to provide leadership. It is either the lawyers do it or the lawyers do it. There is no other alternative. And let me borrow from a biblical passage to say that if the members of the legal profession called to the bar as barristers and solicitors of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, serving on the bench and at the bar, will humble themselves and pray and seek to provide leadership to the people and commit to the advancement of the nation, then we, God helping us, can turn around the fortunes of this land and begin the recovery, reformation, and repositioning of our nation, Nigeria. This is my call on all members of the legal profession in Nigeria. Without conducting ourselves professionally and ethically, it is impossible to elicit the necessary confidence in the public for us to provide leadership to them. While remuneration, we must quit using our skills and knowledge only for remuneration. While remuneration for the services we render is good, we must not make it the primary motivation for the work we do. We must be primarily motivated by the cause of the people. That is the path for national development.
The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, joins virtually to deliver the message of the United Nations on Nigeria's general elections.
Nigeria is at a critical juncture for statehood building. The elections present an opportunity to unite behind a common purpose and build the trust that will allow us to collectively shape our future. As Africa's leading economy, with the biggest cohort of youth and being a security anchor for our neighbors, Nigeria cannot simply afford to fail. The only pathway for a nation to survive is sustainable development, a future that is steeped in economic, social, and environmental principles, and must be guided by the Agenda 2030 and its 17 goals. The Sustainable Development Goals can simply not be a wish list for another day. They are an urgent to-do list, a blueprint for global and local action, needed to deliver peace and prosperity and a thriving natural environment for current and future generations. Essential to avert a catastrophic future of conflict and chaos. Specifically, SDG Goal 16, Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions, was designed to ensure that countries promote peaceful and inclusive societies by providing access to justice for all and building effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels. I would like to focus on three main reflections. First, we must recognize the indispensable role that the judiciary and justice play in people's lives, creating a conducive environment for the fulfillment of rights in all dimensions of life. As you know, Nigeria's peace and security challenges are linked to injustice, exclusion, and increasing social inequalities, coupled with impunity for human rights violations and the lack of economic opportunities. It is crucial to ensure the protection of electoral and other institutions related to the administration of justice and to ensure justice is being served. As members of the Bar, you have a key role to play to advance the country's aspiration towards the 2030 agenda. Second, society must be inclusive. All too often, women and youth remain left behind. Equal participation in politics is crucial for gender equality, yet the number of women vying for political offices has been in decline. Nigerian women constitute only 3.6% of the national parliament, and none are 35 or younger. My appeal is to prioritize gender equality, women's rights, and increase the number of women in government. In addition, the Nigerian population is young and talented, yet they are not heard. Some 70% of Nigeria is under the age of 30. Yet they are also underrepresented and often not included as active participants in decision-making. My sincere hope is that this can be turned around to build a more inclusive, equal and just society where we embrace the best of our traditions with open minds and build the trust that will allow us to move towards a better future together. Third, we need to build strong institutions. Institutions are key to advancing equality and inclusion. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has made great strides in improving the transparency, accountability and credibility of Nigeria's electoral process. The increase in the number of registered voters from 84 million to 93 million is encouraging and suggests that Nigerians are enthusiastic about the electoral process. However, we continue to witness attacks against the institution, fake news, hate speech based on religious and ethnic identities, violence against candidates, as well as INEC's facilities and staff since the political campaigns began. In this context, the importance of this forum cannot be underestimated. It is a platform for you, Nigeria's legal professionals, to discuss your role in managing any conflict or tensions that may arise from the election process and its outcomes. I'm certain that you will remain impartial arbiters in the discharge of your functions, ensuring fair and just adjudication of all electoral matters.
The government on its part assures the gathering that the outcome of the dialogue, when transmitted to them, will sharpen the plans for the elections.
I wish that in the course of the discussion, we would be able to bring out a playbook that would provide the guided processes for the new incoming regime. I would say no one government in this country will be able to solve the problems of Nigeria. But as we build on the precepts laid by successive governments, and like the former IGP rightly said, not discarding completely what has been put in place, we would, in the course of our desire to build a Nigeria of our dream, be able to pick one or two things on which we can concentrate and move. As a government, probably the outcome of this dialogue can be transmitted to us so that whatever resolutions are reached, whatever recommendations you make, that will become part of the documents that we will prepare as we transit and hand over to an incoming government.
After the opening session, conversations moved on to the panel session. The first panel was on the state of human and state security in Nigeria and what the next administration can do better.
For me, as far as security is concerned, I go with McNamara's definition of security. That is, security is development, and development is security. Your Excellencies, if you don't take anything out of here today, please take that along with you. You need to understand that Nigeria is at war, and therefore the economy needs to be tailored towards a war footing so as to support the war effort. From the onset, whoever comes in must have a sincere political objective to address security issues. And we need to understand that we should not and we must not politicize security issues. Because just like money, it has no religion, it has no ethnicity, it has no bias. It doesn't matter who you are, it's going to bite you. So we need to depoliticize security issues.
As an Inspector General of Police, I was allergic to roadblocks. To me, I did not see roadblocks as a good policing strategy. Because most of those boys you post in there, after staying in the sun, the elements, for about 8 hours, 10 hours, they suffer temporary insanity. And anytime you run across them that time, they are fatalities. Why do you have to keep roadblocks? Roadblocks should be intelligence-driven. It is all over the world, you know, we have traveled extensively. It is, you only see roadblocks when you are, you know, there's an intelligence that something has happened and you are trying to trace that thing. It is temporal. You quickly block the highways. Then you see these young men. Do we really care about our police force? Do we think about their mental health? We don't think about their mental health. You put somebody there in this thing, there's no lunch pack, you know, you don't buy fuel, you know, there are no fuel in their patrol vehicles. Then, you know, you just leave them out there, you know, to fend for themselves. We start having a rethink about, you know, how do we treat our policemen? People say salary, salary, salary. To me, it's not enough. People in the public service, in the federal service, clerks, the equivalent they have as constables in the various police services, it is not the salary. It is more than that. How do we think about their living conditions? How do we, you know, think about their children, those of them who have died fighting crime? So I incorporated a scholarship scheme for the children of policemen who died while fighting crime. I got Nigerians to say, please, can we have this trust fund? And any of our men who die fighting crime, can we, you know, try and give their children scholarship? We have police colleges. We have police, this thing. It is very easy to get this thing done. You see, when you motivate a workforce, when you treat them like human beings, you elicit the best from them. That is just the truth.
Police, military, intelligence agencies all need to be reformed. We've had this said by many people. The problem is summoning the political will to go ahead with the reforms. The police reforms are ready. The armed forces reforms are ready. The reports are there, including short-term action, mid-term action, you know, and long-term measures. Nobody is doing that. There should be continuity. When the next regime comes, they don't need to do these reforms again. Maybe probably just get a small committee of people to implement.
The NBA plans to document the key decisions reached here and pass them all to all presidential candidates, even as the association looks to re-establish its leadership position in the society. Away from the NBA event, the International Law Association's Arbitration Committee has organized a mentorship training program for young and intending arbitrators. Tagged the Rise to Professional Stardom series, the event, among other things, seeks to train and retrain African arbitrators so they can effectively compete on the global stage. Here are the highlights from that event.
Our vision is very simple. we want to train the next set of lawyers that will take over from the brilliant senior advocates that we have here. That is our number one vision. Number two, we also want to place our African arbitrators on the international pedestal. And that is why this is on the platform of the International Law Association Arbitration Committee.
With those words, the chairman of the arbitration committee kick-started the event, which is the first in a series lined up by the committee. The event attracted many young and intending arbitrators and even some senior and experienced ones. It's an opportunity to share, learn from one another, and network. A seasoned international arbitrator and the president of the International Chamber of Commerce Nigeria Arbitration, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Dorothy Ufot, has been invited as the special guest to share her journey and experience so far. She speaks about some of the qualities that took her this far.
Whether in the courtroom or in arbitration, whether as an arbitrator or as counsel, you must always be prepared. And how are you prepared? You must read the documents that are placed before you. I read everything. No matter how voluminous, I read everything. Another quality of a good arbitrator is integrity. You see, Tolu talked about not appointing African arbitrators, and we are debunking that now. Before, they used to say there is a dearth of qualified African arbitrators. Nigeria is the fastest growing chapter of the Charter Institute, which is a training institution. We can't count the number of chartered arbitrators, fellows, and stuff like that that we have. The thing that I think is still militating against us is not corruption, the perception of corruption.
She also speaks about the practice of arbitration in Nigeria.
Nigerian parties and their counsel have litigation mentality. And most parties don't even understand what they are signing. So an award is delivered or is rendered or published, and you are telling somebody you can't go to court. That is the first time he's reading that clause that is binding, is final, is this. So we will soon get there. When we started, there was this thing between the court and the arbitral tribunal, but our judges, our courts have been trained now. Hey, you can go to court, you're wasting everybody's time, but will you get the award set aside? You may not get the award set aside. So as an arbitrator, if you do not want your award to be set aside, even till today, it takes me a long time to deliver an award because you're checking every point that you are saying to ensure that you have not run foul of any of the principles. And the easiest way to set aside an award is if you can find something that amounts to misconduct. And any experienced arbitrator will be smart enough to ensure that you cannot pin any misconduct to him or her.
It was a very interactive session, with conversations flowing from how more women can break into the practice of arbitration and how young arbitrators can break into international arbitration. And just before we go, let's quickly do a recap of some of the other top stories from the courtrooms.
We begin with the report that the Supreme Court has nullified the nomination of Senator Emmanuel Bwacha as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Taraba State. Delivering judgment, a 5-member panel led by Justice Adamu Jauro affirmed the verdict of the Federal High Court Jalingo, which held that the APC did not conduct a valid governorship primary election in the state. Meanwhile, the Apex Court has declared as authentic the candidates that emerged from the primaries conducted by the Governor Godwin Obaseki faction of the People's Democratic Party in Edo State. The court also heard arguments on the suit to determine the APC candidate for Yobe North Senatorial District. the seat currently occupied by the President of the Senate, Mr. Ahmed Lawan. The APC and Mr. Lawan are arguing that the party primary held on May 28, 2022, which produced Mr. Bashir Machina, was in breach of the Electoral Act. However, Mr. Machina wants the court to dismiss the appeal for lacking merit, insisting that Mr. Lawan did not challenge his emergence at the lower courts. The court has adjourned the case to February the 6th for judgment. Staying with issues of the elections, Justice Ian Eko of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to accept the nomination of candidates of the Labour Party in 24 states of the Federation for the purpose of the 2023 general elections. The court ordered that the electoral body must accept the list of the candidates either manually or through its electronic nomination portal. Delivering judgment, Justice Eko held that INEC violated sections 31, 33 and 36 of the Electoral Act 2022 in rejecting the Labour Party's candidates in the affected states on the ground of non-functionality of its nomination portal. Justice Eko also agreed with the Labour Party that nomination and submission of candidates lists cannot be rejected by INEC from any party until 90 days to the general elections. In Imo State, a court of appeal sitting in Owerri, the capital city, has stopped the planned rerun primary election of the People's Democratic Party in Abo Mbise, Ngorokwala federal constituency, of which was scheduled to hold on Thursday, February the 2nd. The appellant, Uzoma Ugochukwu, had brought the suit against the PDP, INEC, Honorable Bede Eke, and another Agulana Chibuzo. Justice Rita Kwemu, who granted the stay of execution, held that the primary election should be put on hold pending the hearing and final determination of the applicant's appeal before the Supreme Court on the propriety of the said order of fresh election. Away from political cases, the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Dezani Alson Madueke, has initiated a process at the Federal High Court Abuja to vacate the forfeiture orders of the federal government on properties allegedly linked to her. The federal government had last year secured orders for final forfeiture of properties in Nigeria and abroad, allegedly linked to the former minister. In a fresh motion filed before the court in Abuja by her lawyer, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Mike Ozekome, Mrs. Madueke wants, among others, an order setting aside the public notice issued by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to conduct the public sale on her properties. In a supporting affidavit also, the former minister notes that the EFCC planned to conduct a public sale of all forfeited properties beginning from January the 9th. She is therefore contending, among others, that she was not heard before the orders for forfeiture were issued, thereby denying her fundamental rights. And at the Federal High Court, Lagos, former Minister of State for Defense Musiliu Obanikoro has continued his testimony in the trial of the former Ekiti State Governor, Mr. Ayodele Fayose, who is being tried on an alleged 4.6 billion naira fraud. While answering questions from counsel to the EFCC, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Rotimi Jacobs, Obanikoro insisted that the funds he passed on to the former governor came from the Office of the National Security Advisor. Obanikoro also testified that despite being detained for 21 days by the EFCC, he was cleared of any financial wrongdoing. Under cross-examination by the defense counsel, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Olalekan Ojo, the witness distanced himself from the operations of the company which was used to warehouse the sum from the NSA's impressed account. Presiding Judge Justice Chukwujeku Aneke has adjourned to March the 20th and 21st for continuation of cross-examination. Fayose allegedly received the cash payment of $5 million from Obanikoro without going through any financial institution. He is also charged with unlawfully retaining 300 million naira in a bank account and illegally taking control of about 622 million naira. The EFCC alleges that the former governor reasonably ought to know that the money was part of crime proceeds. And we round up with the report that a police officer, Sunday Akagu, has testified at the Lagos High Court sitting at the Tafawa Balewa Square as the sixth prosecution witness in the trial of the Assistant Superintendent of Police, Drambi Vandi, charged with the killing of Lagos-based lawyer Mrs. Bolale Rahim on Christmas Day. Akagu, an inspector who has spent over 20 years in the police, said his colleague asked for a bullet to replace his own because it was not complete after the shooting. He, however, said he refused to give him. Under cross-examination, the witness admitted he was not present when the officer was disarmed. He also admitted that he did not know the number of the gun that was booked. Meanwhile, ballistics reports in the case are said to be ready, but same has not been made public.
That's the program for today. If you missed any part of it, you can find it in past episodes on our YouTube channel. Do also give us feedback via any of our social media platforms. I'm Shola Shaylee. Thank you for watching and see you next week.